Okay, so what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how you can have multiple backgrounds within the same program. So far every program we've made has had the same background at all times, and I'm going to show you how you can have multiple backgrounds with like a game, maybe a title screen, an instruction screen, a game playing screen, and then a game over screen. So a lot of screens are used in game design, and I'm going to walk you through that. Now, before we start, what I need you to do is go to my classroom website, and under lesson 7, you need to download these 2 images. You need to download these 2 images, and then what you need to do is you need to start a program. You can see up here I called it Unit 5, Lesson 7, Multiple Screens. And what you need to do is you need to save that program and then bring the content in as well. So bring in the main screen as well as the title screen picture so that we can use them. So I'm going to give you time to actually do that. And then from there, you can unpause the video and we'll move forward. Okay, so now that you've got these pictures in here, make sure that their property is set to copy always so that they will display to your screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to essentially bring in these pictures to our program. So we know that we need a texture to the object. One I'm going to call main screen. And then I also need a texture to the object that I call title screen. So essentially I'm going to just write my program that I switch between the 2, and then you'll add more of your own. So then from here, I know that these are both backgrounds. So really, I only need one rectangle, and I'm just going to call it background, and that's what I'm going to display to the screen. So I only need one rectangle because I'm only going to display one background at a time. So even though I have multiple pictures, truly, I only need one rectangle to hold that picture at a time. Then down here, I need to initialize my rectangle. So I have my background rectangle. It's going to create a new rectangle. I'm going to start it in the upper left-hand corner of 0, 0. And then I want to use the entire dimensions of the screen. Now, by default, this dimensions of our screen are set to 800, 480. So you can set the dimensions to be that. The other thing you can do is you can use what's called graphics device dot viewport dot, and then you can use the width, and then you can do the same thing for the height. So if for some reason you change the dimension, you could also set it to that. But remember, you can just use 800, 480. I'm just showing you you can use these 2 as well if you do happen to change the dimensions of your game. So you have multiple options. 800 by 480 is normally what students go with because they aren't changing their screen size. Now from here, I need to actually load in the content of my pictures. So I know that I have my main screen photo, and that's going to be this dot in the content folder dot loading in a texture to the object. And then it is called, if I look over here, I see main screen 1.png. So main screen all lowercase 1.png. Then from here, I do the same thing for my title screen. This dot content dot load texture to D is what I'm loading in. And then I need the accurate name, which if I look over on the right, is title screen 1.png. So I've done the basics here. I've brought in my pictures. I've initialized my background rectangle. So this is background rectangle to fill the screen. I have 2 pictures up here. This is going to be my second screen, and this is going to be my first screen that I display. And then from here, this is the rectangle to hold the current background. So I have all those pieces in. Now what I need to do from here is if I'm going to be displaying multiple screens, I need to actually track that in my code. So here I have screen is a variable that I'm going to make. So it's going to be an integer. I'm going to call it screen, and I'm going to start it at screen 1. So I'm going to say, okay, when I start off my program, I want my screen to be screen 1. But when I press a certain button, I want it to increment maybe to screen 2. So this tells the computer which screen to display. So if it's screen 1, you display the title screen. If it's screen 2, you just display the main screen, etc., etc. Now, I need to actually program this into update where my screen will actually increment. So here, I'm going to create a keyboard button. So I'm going to need a keyboard state object. I'm going to call it KB. It's equal to keyboard dot get state. So this allows me to get the state of the buttons on the keyboard. Then from here, I'm going to say, okay, if. Well, I'm going to use, we'll do if kb.is key down. And I want to maybe, no, I want it to be equal to true. Let's think about what keys we could use. Well, we can do keys dot, if you want to use the numpad maybe, numpad 2. So what this will do is it'll allow you to use the 2 on the numpad to actually change items on the screen. So here, if they press numpad 2, I want my screen to then be equal to 2, so it displays the second screen. So then from here, I have it programmed to change the screen number if the numpad number 2 is pressed. Now down here in draw is where I need to draw to the screen, and I realize I have 2 different situations. So I'm going to say, okay, well, if screen equals 1, I want something to happen. And then else if screen is equal to 2, I need to put my space in there, and I want something else to happen. So here to draw things to the screen, I know I need sprite batch dot begin. I know I need sprite batch dot end. And then in between, I need to actually draw the screen. So sprite batch dot draw, and I know I need the title screen picture to start. I then want to use the background rectangle, and I want it to have a color dot white. Now from here, I realize I have graphics device dot clear, and because this background is going to fill the entire screen, I can eliminate that background piece. I no longer need to put blue on the background of my screen. This essentially displays the title screen and the program begins. And here, this displays the main screen when 2 is pressed. So here, this is almost the exact same code, but I want to change my title screen to now be main screen instead. So I've now programmed it if screen equals 1, display this. If screen happens to change to 2, display this. So now if I run my program, what should happen is it starts off displaying screen 1. And then if I press 2 on the numpad, it will change it to be screen 2. Now, just for fun, so you can see how you can flip back and forth, let's go back up here and copy and paste our code and see if we can flip-flop between the 2. So let's program it so when numpad 1 is pressed, screen changes back to 1. So now if I run my program, I can press 2, 1, 2, 1. So you can see how you can flip-flop between the 2. So now you have an idea of how you can change screens. So you can go access the programming assignment. This will ask you to actually create some of your own backgrounds in Paint. I want you to get practice with that because that will be a requirement when you get to your project. You'll need to know how to utilize Paint in order to make your own backgrounds for that game. So practice, and then from there you'll practice putting multiple screens together and having 4 screens for your game so that you're ready once you start your ambulance project. So let me know if you need help, and best of luck.